Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Priest finally has an aggro deck in United in Stormwind because Shadow Priest has turned out to be an actual competitive deck. The United in Stormwind card that made this deck possible is Dark Bishop Benedictus, of course. Start of the game, if the spells in your deck are all Shadow, enter Shadow form, so then your hero power deals damage instead of healing, and that turns you into an aggro deck. There's also Void Touch Attendant, which is a phenomenal card. Both heroes take 1 extra damage from all sources. So well-timed Void Touch Attendants, having some minions on the board, chipping in some damage with those minions, suddenly they deal a lot of damage. And then there's Twilight Deceptor, Battlecry. If hero took damage this turn, draw a Shadow spell. So sometimes you can do that of course with your hero power, but most often you want to just have a minion on the board, attack, phase, and then play the Deceptor. The overall game plan of Shadow Priest is to chip in damage with your minions, and then finish the job with your hero power, with stuff like Knife Enders, with stuff like Void Shards. But there is not enough damage from hand in this archetype to win the game, so you have to get some minion damage in. There are a lot of fun little details in Shadow Priest deck at the moment. For example, there's Mankrik, which shuffles Olgra into your deck, and when you draw Olgra, you summon a 3/7 Mankrik that immediately hits face. And there's a 1 copy of Tribe in the Shadows in this deck, and there are only 2 spells in the deck, so once you have played Mankrik, that Olgra becomes the 3rd spell, so you can always tutor for Olgra with Tribe in the Shadows. There's also a fun combination between Imprisoned Homunculus, Dormant for 2 turns, it's a 2/5 taunt minion, and Dragonmaw Overseer. If you can play Homunculus on 1, then on 3 you can play Overseer, and if Homunculus is your only minion, Overseer immediately buffs it to be a 4/7 taunt minion. One of the best cards in Shadow Priest and a card that deserves special mention in this archetype is Tour Guide. Battlecry, your next hero power costs 0, and you can also say that for future turns. So Tour Guide, then followed up with hero power Mana Feeder Pantera on 2, for example. If you use your hero power this turn, draw a card. You can follow that up with the Twilight Deceptor, and overall Tour Guide just enables you to fight for the board, because if you're playing a minion-based matchup, then your hero power can be used to kill the opponent's minions to let your minions hit face more. And having access to Tour Guide, maybe race-steading your Tour Guide afterwards, just jamming those 0-cost hero powers allows you to get an overwhelming advantage on the board. That is also pretty much the only strategy that the Shadow Priest can use to beat the likes of Hand Buff Paladin. That's one of the weaknesses of Shadow Priest right now. You're really good against these Warlocks, you're good against these Mages. You can fight in these board-based battles like Hand Buff Paladins, Elemental Shamans, but usually you need a Tour Guide to make that happen. Sometimes a Wriggling Horror is enough, but something like that, something special is needed to be able to get through a board-based matchup. Because if your minions don't get a chance to connect to face, you cannot win a game. There's also Mindrender Illusia in the deck, and there are a couple of uses for Mindrender Illusia. If the game goes a little bit late, you can try to use that to gain additional resources from the opponent. Also, if you have just played most of the stuff in your hand, you have a pretty decent board, then Mindrender Illusia denies your opponent any means to respond to that board. And that can then be game winning. As for the mulligans with this deck, you're always looking for your 1-drops, Tour Guides, Void Touch Attendants, Imprisoned Homunculus, Present Freshman. The 1-drops are really, really important. In addition to the 1-drops, Mankrik is usually good to keep. Mankrik is just very strong in this deck, and if you have a good number of 1-drops, then keeping Wriggling Horror so that you can play some 1-drops, then Wriggling Horror, that can also work. But stuff like Twilight Deceptor, Mana Feeder Pantera, usually you don't want to keep those in the mulligan. Now, let's go take a look at Shadow Priest in action, and if you enjoy this content, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel. And you only want to keep Mankrik and the 1-drops. There's Mankrik. Still no 1-drops. 2, 4, 6, 8. There are 1-drops in this deck. I've been just barely able to draw a 1-drop in these games. Just barely. They have always been absolutely mandatory. Or the mulligan, if I had mulligan with any weaker mulligan strategy, would have just resulted in extreme bad situations. Okay, let's see about this one. An Ignite the Dome is surprising. Well, no Incantors flow then. At least this. Ooh, I have the Overseer. Overseer is so good, I think I need to play it. Turn that into a 4/7. 4/7 is just so good. They will have to kill the Overseer with something. They should have the tools to kill the Overseer, but they just threw an ignite away. So maybe they don't. They do, but that's all good. It's all good. Ooh, that tour guide. That means Mankrik. Tour guide. Hero power. Push. So far so good. This starts to look like we could go places. They get a spell damage minion. That's a nice barrier. I mean, I have the damage to push through it, so it's all good. Wriggling Horror Overseer. I think so, instead of using the hero power. Just then push, push, push. That's a nice barrier. We're still pushing more than the ice barrier can take for the time being. Just optimizing my damage. A little bit like playing Face Hunter, really. It's bad that all the buffs have hit the homunculus because there are a lot of freezes in the mage deck. Would be better to spread them around. Then they should have some kind of freeze effect. They get to discover a spell as well, so they can discover freeze or they might have flurry. Let's see. But it's important to push with the minions early, because late the minions just won't do anything anymore. And now the Shadowed Spirit. More stuff here. More minions, more damage. I'm not sure if I'm actually able to push enough damage here. I have been doing everything I can. We'll see. There have been multiple freezes, ice barrier, AoE. All the goodies have been there.
I will crush your delusions of grandeur.
Okay. Randomly generated freeze effect. That's tough. I'm going to have to kill that Solarian. And then the Shadow Spirit out there. Now Apex's Blast doesn't summon minions anymore, so that's a small upside. It's very unlikely that the game would go to a Solarian Prime.
I got the best deals anywhere.
Okay, it was the Auctioneer version. That was a surprise, because usually it's the no minion mage version, with Apex's Blasts included. They haven't had any discounts, but they did discover that. Oh, this was main deck Mana Biscuit actually. Or are they just able to handle everything here? Looks like they might. It could be a problem. I'm drawing everything.
Only so much time.
Yeah, that's a lot of card draw. Then I have to decide whether I use my Void Shard to go face. When I have 8 damage here, I have a lethal over 2 turns. Will they be able to kill me next turn? If I use my Void Shard on the Auctioneer, I have to do it like this. If they can't kill me now, then Knife Fender, or put me down to 4 health, then Knife Fender and Hero Power will be enough.
I have proven myself. I demand answers.
Only 3 mana. And even if they get like counter spells or anything, it doesn't matter because a minion cannot be countered. It looks like we've got this. It was closer than I had anticipated, but we did get there in the end.
Are you a fan?
You. Yeah, the draws have been lackluster at best. Well, now I have a lot of 1-drops. But I would need something that would actually push in that damage, and Mage kept everything, so they should have a perfect hand. In this scenario, I want to push this Pressman out there, now that I have the Attendant in hand. No Incanters flow instead of Wound Orb. That is a major surprise, I have to say. Didn't expect to see that. We try to push a little bit with this. And we hope that the Mage doesn't have a good clear this turn, so that we can get the Attendant out there and chip in much more damage with these tiny minions. So how good is Mage's clear this turn? That's the major question here. How many of these minions can they kill now? They're setting up for a fire sale. But I still need to push with the Attendant now. If they don't have a Brain Freeze to go with that. And then hope that I top deck something useful, because I'm all out of cards. Well, we're pushing in with everything we've got. Not sure if it's enough, because I think there's a fire sale coming. But that's as much as I've got. Now a fire sale will come, then I will have just the 2-3 left. I have to assume that's a fire sale setup with these, but this was still by far the best possible play. Okay. I need to find a way to deal with remaining 14 damage. It is not impossible with this deck. Look at that card, for example, right there. 2 freshmen. Less than ideal, but okay. Obviously wanted to get some Void Touch Attendants, but not this time. Let's see if we can keep pushing. Then I have those Shadow Spirits, Knife Windows, Void Shards in the deck, which could really come in handy. Because with Hero Power it takes 6 turns, and that's a little bit too long. Okay. With Hero Power alone it would still take another 4 turns. Knife Window or Void Shard, there are 4 cards in the deck that could reduce that time by 2 turns. Well, they might just freeze the Shadowed Spirits. That's always possible. No, Knife and Shadow Spirit is not... yeah, well, Shadow Spirit is nice. That's not bad at all. Because they can't kill this. They would have to keep this frozen. Frozen, not killed. They could of course find the Ice Barrier. If they play a secret that's probably Ice Barrier, and then I can't attack. So that is an Ice Barrier. Attacking with these actually gives the mage more health. There are some lists that run an Oasis, one copy of Oasis Ally, but I can't call their bluff because if I fail then, well, it's going to be terrible. I could try to start shooting my own Shadowed Spirit, I guess, but I think this has got to be better. Okay. Knife Vendor, Void Shard. Thrive in Shadows. Those are the game-winning cards. We take down the mage. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Twitch channel.